Psychedelics by themselves are powerful windows into higher planes of consciousness and understanding, but when combined with certain films, they have added potential to deepen the profundity of your trips. Today I'll be presenting a handful of some of the very best films to watch whilst tripping. This will be the first in a series covering a variety of films and media to dissect and feel into while you're in the midst of a trip, although don't try this on salvia, that might be quite the challenge. First on my list of recommendations are the works of Charlie Kaufman, one of my absolute favourite directors and whose movies all exude a fantastic sense of style, creativity and intelligence. He harnesses the power of film to create imaginative, powerful and very real pieces of art. My personal favourites for tripping would have to be Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, an absolute classic of the romance genre, and Anomalisa, a fantastic stop-motion animation concerning the confrontation of the self and its flaws, and a highly resonant life lesson on how when you try to run away from the self, you'll also find yourself running away from other people as well.
I can't wait to see you when I get back. How's Thursday? Oh, it's super fancy.
Jesus. Someone else.
But if you were to watch just one whilst on a psychedelic, I'd have to say it must be Synecdoche, New York. It's an incredibly engrossing story, and one that should absolutely be experienced by any fan of film. But for my definitive pick of his works, I'd have to go with Synecdoche, New York, a truly grandiose and moving film that explores ideas such as loneliness, approval from others, existential angst, and perhaps the most psychedelic of all, solipsism, something that will naturally become a point of contemplation once your trips become deeper and you start to veer towards the realm of ego death. This is an example of a film that can really aid in your contemplation sessions, and the insights it shares can be profoundly decoded when in the midst of a trip. This isn't to mention the amazing acting and direction. Philip Seymour Hoffman was one of my absolute favourite actors, and this might be his very best role. The dreamlike nature of the film's directing and cinematography are also an amazing treat to behold. I highly suggest watching all of Kaufman's work, as it touches upon some fantastically intense and heartfelt aspects of life, reality, and the human condition.
I smell like I'm menstruating.
You tell me.
I've been following you for 20 years, and I've learned everything about you. So hire me, and you'll see who you truly are.
I'm just a little person, one person in a sea of many little.
Ich will mit dir über deine Homosexualität sprechen.
I'm not a homosexual.
Gesagt, du wurdest erst abstrakt.
Somewhere, maybe someday.
I don't know why I make it so complicated.
That's what you do.
I
hope he's through any way I can.
Somewhere, maybe
There are millions of people in the world,
somewhere far.
and none of those people is an extra.
I'll meet a
They're all leads of their own stories.
person, and we'll go out and play.
Caden? What? When are we gonna get an audience in here? It's been 17 years.
Next on the list is the classic cyberpunk anime film and one of the most influential, thought-provoking sci-fis ever made, Ghost in the Shell. Not only is this movie a feast for the eyes from a visual standpoint, it's also perfect for tripping in the sense that it will aid you in understanding what it means to be human, what it means to have a self, and what the difference is between consciousness and the soul, if there even is any distinction between the two in the first place. The philosophical conflict raised in the film, which is a reference to substance dualism, basically poses the question of whether there is an ethereal characteristic to a human that transcends their physical makeup. The very concept of the soul and how this intangible distinction separates man from machine is a major talking point in the film, and it explores the notions of identity and consciousness with great nuance and is perfect for subsequent rewatches in order to fully dissect the message and themes. Watching it on Psychedelics elevates the experience into something else entirely, as the idea that there is more to life beyond the physical self is an insight one must grapple with as their trips become deeper and deeper.
However, what you are now witnessing is an act of my own free will. As a sentient life form, I hereby demand political asylum.
Is this a joke? Ridiculous! It's programmed for self-preservation.
It can also be argued that DNA is nothing more than a program designed to preserve itself. Life has become more complex in the overwhelming sea of information. And life, when organized into species, relies upon genes to be its memory system. So man is an individual only because of his intangible memory. And memory cannot be defined, but it defines mankind. The advent of computers and the subsequent accumulation of incalculable data has given rise to a new system of memory and thought parallel to your own. Humanity has underestimated the consequences of computerization.
Nonsense! This babble offers no proof at all that you're a living, thinking life form.
And can you offer me proof of your existence? How can you, when neither modern science nor philosophy can explain what life is?
Who the hell is this? Even if you do have a ghost, we don't offer freedom to criminals. It's the wrong place and time to defect.
Time has been on my side, but by acquiring a body, I am now subject to the possibility of dying. Fortunately, there is no death sentence in this country.
What is it? Artificial intelligence?
Incorrect. I am not an AI. My codename is Project 2501. I am a living, thinking entity who was created in the sea of information.
Ah.
Third on the list is the documentary film Samsara, a wordless film that transports you on a visually mesmerising journey through the most beautiful and ugly aspects of human nature in the modern world. The most amazing thing about this film is that it ties in with the idea of direct experiences that is present on all psychedelics. The lack of narration means it's up to the viewer to feel into the film and realise everything for themselves. The film cycles through all these radically different perspectives, and it's incredibly moving and thought-provoking, with the added bonus of a psychedelic's ability to enhance sound and sight, which makes the film a stupendous piece of sensory stimulation. Teaching the audience to indirectly is akin to that of a monk, on the level of Turquoise on Spiral Dynamics, who gives example through present and pure unspoken intention, the very act of being. It is easily one of the most conscious films to exist and can be interpreted through a variety of lenses, but with a psychedelic ability to raise your consciousness, the chances of feeling the true intention of the film is raised significantly, and the emotional impact is immensely touching. A real masterpiece of filmmaking. At number 4 we have Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain, and to be honest, the less said about this movie the better, so I'll keep this one short. This is one that just needs to be seen and felt in all its glory. The imagery in this film is mind-blowingly imaginative and symbolic. It's personally in my top 3 favourite films of all time, and each time I return to it, it shakes me to my core and stands as a true testament to the awesome potential for film and how it can stir deep contemplation into its audiences. To keep it brief, a major aspect the film explores is the corrupted nature of mankind and how one can attain happiness through far simpler means. A message very fitting for a time where we find our happiness shackled down by rampant materialism, excessive hedonism, and late-stage capitalism. The plot of the film itself follows a Jesus-like character that is guided by an alchemist to the Holy Mountain, where they aim to achieve enlightenment. This film is mesmerising and enchanting enough whilst in a sober state. On Psychedelics, it's taken to the next level and will likely leave you speechless as the credits begin to roll. An absolute classic of cinema. And finally, we've come to the most overtly psychedelic film on the list, and perhaps in the history of cinema itself, Richard Linklater's Waking Life. This film outright discusses numerous aspects of transcendence, reincarnation, God, life, altered state, higher consciousness, etc., and ties them all up into a thoroughly surreal rotoscoped animated feature wherein a nameless young man finds himself trapped in a continuous series of dreams which discuss the very nature of reality and existence, and what could be the grand reason for anything existing in the first place. I recently saw this film after I had an immensely profound ego death on a high dose of 4-ACO-DMT, and the insights this film shares are so psychedelic in nature that I cannot think of a more definitively trippy movie to watch whilst on psychs. It explores ideas about life from a range of perspectives, from your average Joe, couples, crackpots. I mean, fucking Alex Jones is in this film, so if you didn't think it was worth watching before I said all this, then it's definitely worth watching now. Philosophers and intellectuals from all walks of life, all discussing and dissecting reality from their own point of view in an attempt to understand the true meaning of life. Is life a dream? This is something you can absolutely find the answer to, and the very final few scenes of Waking Life are some of the most utterly profound insights into non-duality that you could ever hope to see examined within media. It left my jaw agape hearing it for the first time. Everything I'd come to realise through my own direct experience on psychedelics and all of the numerous events I've had in my own life were reflected back at me through this film's characters. In the higher sense, it's almost like totality consciousness has left this film as a clue for many millions of people to wake up to, and it's a great shame that many people won't actually ever experience it. It's a lot to take in, and the direction and pacing may not be for everyone, but you're missing out on some amazingly profound and truthful discussions of what really is going on with life, reality, the universe, and everything. And nothing. This film is the very best to be experienced on a psychedelic in my opinion. From its surreal, trippy visuals to its genuinely intelligent points of discussion, Waking Life is not one to be missed by any serious psychonaut hoping to open and expand their mind to new and radical possibilities. An underrated gem in every sense.
You haven't met yourself yet. But the advantage to meeting others in the meantime is that one of them may present you to yourself.
Down through the centuries, the notion that life is wrapped in a dream has been a pervasive theme of philosophers and poets. So doesn't it make sense that death too would be wrapped in dream? That after death, your conscious life would continue?
I mean,
you know, if you can wake up, you should. Because, you know, someday, you know, you won't be able to. So just, but it's easy. You know, just